Hey friends. So someone commented on a video of mine a few days ago, and it was a really interesting comment to read. I think it was written by someone for whom English is not the first language, so it was kind of the punctuation, sentence structure kind of like just ran on a bit, but the fundamental message that was like that they kind of led with was, I've been where you are, kind of trapped in the mind, and it's a form of psychosis. And I thought to myself, wow, that's what someone got from that post that I did. Okay, let me look at that. Because I, of course, agree with the sort of fundamental understanding that's being conveyed there, which is that if we are trapped in our mind, we're actually kind of insane. And that's not always how we think about sanity, certainly in our culture. That we don't think, oh, if you're really using your mind, or if you're really engaged with your mind, that makes you crazy. We tend to say, crazy, like I'm out of my mind, is how we think about sanity versus insanity. If someone's crazy, they're out of their mind. Interesting how our vocabulary reflects something about the underlying way that we see the world. Because from the point of view of spiritual practice, from the point of view of a kind of a deeper understanding of consciousness and reality, being in our mind is what's insane. If we can't get, not that using the mind or employing the mind is inherently insane, but if the contents of the mind and the processes of the mind constitute our reality, the only reality that we really accept as real, or the only reality that we have access to, then we're limited to the mind, and the mind in and of itself is insane. It's a field of activity that ultimately has no reference point beyond itself, and so it kind of just collapses on itself, deconstructs itself in this frantic search for a kind of higher final reference point or deeper meaning, which is, of course, not accessible from within the mind. We have to go out of our mind to ground the mind. Now, that doesn't mean become a psychopath, obviously. That means tap into something that is beyond the mind. Connect with the field, with the moment, with the aspect of our own essence, of our own essential consciousness that is not based in the mind. It is rooted somewhere else. So, but coming back to the comment that someone made on my video, I was really I was both really pleased that somebody took the time to express that, and also I was happy for the reflection, even though I don't know that it's a flattering reflection. When someone says, "Oh yeah, I see what you're going through. It's called psychosis." You're like, wow. Maybe I should be careful what I'm posting on the internet. But I also was given the chance to really think about, okay, well, I think that's actually kind of true. Not that I'm in psychosis necessarily, but this idea that if I in this post in question was wrestling with a kind of being imprisoned in the mind, or I wasn't able to reach beyond my own mental constructs, then the diagnosis of, well, yeah, that's called psychosis, and the only way to do it, the comment went on to say, the thing you're doing is the way to get is the way through it. Become conscious of it. Express so that you can perceive and become conscious of what's happening. That's the way. And I found the comment so illuminating, because it was almost like, it wasn't like a comment about, I really like what you're saying, or I agree or disagree with what you're saying. It was really kind of getting to the heart of the process that I'm in when I do this work, when I come to do this video post, and when I do a kind of the various elements of my daily practice. That's where I'm coming from. The overarching intention is to make things conscious, and that often involves making things conscious, making myself aware of things that I would really probably prefer to not be so aware of. Anybody have that? This deep spiritual work thing, working with our karma, working with our self. It's not always the sunshine and rainbows stuff that we get to work with. It's some of it is, but some of it is also ugh. I got to look at things I don't want to look at. I have to look at things that my ego doesn't want to look at. I should clarify, because there's a bunch of I's going on in here. There's an I, the kind of mental ego, but then there's also the conscious being. And the I, the conscious being, has no problem looking at uncomfortable stuff, because it's not identified with it, and it's not threatened by it. And if it has any intention at all, it's to liberate the mental ego from the illusions that it's suffering under. That's all that my higher self wants to see. It wants to see me liberated from the illusion, liberated from the enslavement to unhelpful patterns of thought, action, and emotion. It wants to see me, it wants to see consciousness grow. That's all it cares about, in myself or in other people. And so this comment really kind of was pointing right at that. And so I just appreciated it. I just enjoyed being able to receive both the reflection about on what I was struggling with, the specific thing that was kind of which I don't even remember what it was now, but like that, whatever it was I was going through, created a kind of what someone else was able to perceive as a barrier that I was trapped behind, and also point to the process that I was in and the effectiveness of that process, the way that was actually creating movement, creating change in a positive direction. So I feel like I've done a number of posts in the last week or two that are specifically revolving around this post itself, kind of like like reflective examination of what am I really doing here? What is it really? What is this process really? And I think something showing up like the difference between what identity, I can speak English. What identity am I speaking from when I say, I don't want to look at that, or I do want to look at that, right? That I just throw out there actually, even as I say it, it means different things, right? I might say it in 1 minute or in one post from a certain altitude, but then I might say it later in the same post or in a different post from a totally different place, and the same reference, the same word is referring to a completely different dimension of my being and of being in general. And that, when something like that jumps out at me, I feel like I learned something. I feel like something has happened to broaden my own engagement, my own consciousness. I'm awakened to not just what I internally or interiorly perceive, but I'm awakened to what is showing up out there among people who would watch this post and or be in a real live relationship with me and kind of have a perception of what's going on. So I'm always so grateful for the comments that show up, and for people who take the time to watch these videos. And I'm always hopeful that my reflection, my own kind of working through some, whether it's a thought, whether it's an experience, whether it's a stroke of inspiration, that my working through it and my kind of expressing something and going through a deliberately self-conscious process is somehow helpful, that somehow illuminates, somehow illustrates, just give what, even if it just gives other people permission to look at something in themselves, or not be so hard on themselves about something, or feel some sense of that their fellow travelers out there going through similar things. It's always my hope that something comes across that is of value. So, because God knows the process is valuable to me. So thank you for your comment. I wasn't able to really discern a name from the handle that was on the comment, but I appreciate it. That's where I am today, folks. Have a great day. Thanks for watching. See you soon.